if the economy took a break, if government had announced, irrespective of this virus, that everybody has a forced 2-week vacation. Everybody goes home for 2 weeks, stays home. It's good. We're going to have more family time. GDP would go down in those 2 weeks if we could measure it in a 2-week period. We don't. Some of that would be made up for in the 2 weeks after because people would be buying or creating things that weren't made during those 2 weeks. Some things are not replaceable. The meal out versus the meal in, right? Eating out versus cooking yourself is you don't make that up. Well, you could a little bit, but in general, what are your thoughts on that sort of extreme version of this? Right? That would be a stylized way of thinking about what we're going through now. Well, what would be the impact of that if everybody just stopped making stuff for sale, that commercial life stopped for 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
Well, 4 weeks, those are easy cases. If you think of many service sectors as having to shut down, say, until August, which is quite a possible scenario, in some cases even later, that to me is greatly concerning. And it may vary across sectors. So if you think about the NBA, whenever the NBA is ready to play games again, I mean, the players will show up the next day and they'll be ready, right? That will come back very quickly. But if you think of small businesses, say restaurants, the big chains aside, they're typically thinly capitalized. Let's say a significant portion of those are gone forever. And then when things are somewhat normal again, how does the economy re-scramble and reconstitute the organizational capital that was in those ongoing enterprises? That to me is a hugely difficult problem. And whatever you think the government should or should not do, just spending a lot on fiscal stimulus will not ease that problem. That's the actual destruction going on, is the relationships, the organizational capital, the intangibles that will decay, not over 2 weeks, probably not over 4 weeks, but over 4 or 5 months or longer. Then I think that's a matter really of great concern.
Well, I'll make a bet with you right now, Tyler, that 4 or 5 months from now won't look like it does now in terms of the expectations of self-quarantining and self-isolation and things being closed. I think we're going to get to see Tom Brady in a Tampa Bay Buccaneer uniform, for example.
On TV, but not with the crowd. Yes, it'll be on TV. In China, they're playing basketball games to be televised, and people watch them. But even in China, where the number of new cases is really, in most parts of the country, genuinely very low, they are not returning with live sporting events. Keep in mind, we will have a pool of never infected people, which will be fairly large in absolute numbers, and what risks we will be willing to take. Insurance companies would allow, our liability system and corporate lawyers would be willing to allow. When you think through all of that stickiness, I think we're really not so close to resuming many of these shutdown activities.